Okay, so I want you to just picture the scene at the Australian team hotel this morning.
Oh, man, it has to be brutal.
It's quiet, probably a little too quiet, you
Uh-huh.
know. You've got some of the highest paid, um, most celebrated athletes in the world right now.
Guys who are completely used to lifting ICC trophies, like as a habit, not just a goal.
Exactly. And right now they are packing their bags, they're checking out, they are heading to the
It
airport.
has to be an absolute funeral atmosphere in that lobby.
It's a disaster, a total sporting disaster. I mean, the group stages of the 2026 T20 World Cup are done. The dust has finally settled, and the headline isn't who is staying.
Right, it's who is leaving.
It's who is leaving. Australia, the Titan, the team, I think we all just penciled them in for the Final Four without even thinking.
Oh, absolutely we did. Everyone did.
Well, they're out, eliminated, gone before the Super 8s even kick off.
And that really changes everything. We usually talk about upsets in World Cups as these cute little isolated moments, right?
Yeah, the underdog story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A minnow beats a giant. Everyone cheers. We get a nice headline for a day.
Yeah.
And then, the giant wakes up and wins the tournament anyway.
But this isn't that.
No, this is a structural collapse. This alters the entire math of the tournament.
It really does. The bracket has been blown completely wide open. So welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission is very specific for you.
Mm-hmm.
The Super 8 stage starts this Saturday, February 21st.
Yeah.
And we are not just going to sit here and read the schedule, because if you want the schedule, you can just go to Google.
Right. We're here to figure out why the survivors actually survived.
Yes.
We're going to look at the group of death, which is a statistical anomaly that frankly just shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
And we'll explain exactly why it does.
We're also going to talk about the do factor, something that is actively terrifying the bowlers right now,
Oh, yeah?
and why off-spin of all things has suddenly become the most dangerous weapon in the game against the absolute tournament favorite.
We've got match reports. We've got tactical breakdowns from ex-cricketers. Guys like Nasser Hussain and Ravi Shastri.
And we have some spreadsheets that honestly look a little bit frightening.
They do, but they explain a lot, though.
Yeah.
Especially regarding India.
They really do. So if you were ready to understand why India might be way more vulnerable than their perfect record suggests, and why Zimbabwe might actually be a legitimate threat to the title, then buckle up. Let's dive in.
Let's start with the elephant in the room, the groups.
The group of death. I feel like we hear that term every single tournament.
Every time, yeah.
But this time the math actually backs it up. We have two groups in the Super 8s, Group 1 and Group 2. Let's look at Group 1 first.
Okay.
It's India, South Africa, West Indies, and Zimbabwe.
And Group 2 is England, New Zealand, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka.
Now, on the surface, that just looks like two lists of very good cricket teams.
Yeah.
But you mentioned a statistical oddity before we started recording that I think is essential to understanding the next week of cricket.
It is incredibly weird. If you look at the group stages we just finished, just look at who finished where. India.
Top of Group A.
Right. Zimbabwe.
Top of Group B.
West Indies.
Top of Group C.
And South Africa.
Top of Group D. Wait, so Group 1 is literally just the winners.
Exactly. Group 1 contains only teams that finished unbeaten or at the top of their respective tables.
And Group 2.
It is comprised entirely of the teams that finished second in their groups.
That sounds completely broken. I mean, usually the whole point of a group stage is that if you win, you get a reward.
Right. You get a slightly easier path.
Yeah, you play a runner-up from another group. You don't get thrown into a pit with the other three best teams in the entire tournament.
Usually, yes. But this is where the ICC's preceding controversy really comes into play. And this is a really fascinating look at how logistics sometimes just completely trump sporting logic.
Okay, let's unpack this preceding thing, because I've seen people furious about it online. But how does the mechanism actually work?
So imagine you are the tournament organizer. You have millions of dollars in broadcast rights riding on India. You have thousands of fans flying in from London to see England. You need to sell tickets months in advance. You need to book hotels. You need to organize massive security details.
Sure, you can't have India qualifying on a Friday and then telling the fans, okay, guess what you need to be in a 50,000-seat stadium in a totally different city by Sunday.
Precisely. The logistics would be an absolute nightmare. So before a single ball was even bowled in the tournament, the ICC assigned seedings to the top teams.
Okay.
India was designated A1. Australia was B1. England C1, New Zealand D1.
So they basically have a designated slot in the bracket before they even play a single game.
Correct. The rule states that if a seeded team qualifies for the Super 8s, they retain that seed position regardless of whether they finish first or second in their actual group.
Wow, okay. So even if India had lost a game and finished second in their group for the purposes of the Super 8 schedule, they would still be A1.
Exactly. They would still play in Ahmedabad on the exact dates A1 is scheduled to play.
I get the business side of it, I really do. But how did we end up with all the winners in one single group?
Well, there's a catch. If a seeded team gets knocked out,
Which happened.
right, the team that knocks them out or takes their qualifying spot inherits their seed.
Ah, I see where this is going. This is the Australia factor.
Yes. Australia was seeded B1. They were expected contractually almost to be in Group 1, but they went home.
And Zimbabwe took that spot.
So for the purposes of the schedule, Zimbabwe is Australia. They are officially B1.
And because India, who was A1, and West Indies, who was C2, originally seeded C2 but finished first,
Right.
and South Africa, who was D2 but finished first, all played incredible cricket. They all landed in the exact same bucket.
Basically, the predetermined bracket assumed that some of the top seeds would finish first and some would finish second, which would create a balance.
But they didn't.
No, because West Indies and South Africa completely outperformed their preceding expectations and won their groups. And Zimbabwe took Australia's really tough slot, so everyone clumped together.
So Zimbabwe, by playing incredible cricket, beating Australia, and topping their group, didn't earn an advantage at all.
Not even a little one.
They earned a ticket to the hardest group in World Cup history.
That is the main criticism. It renders the group stage performance largely irrelevant for seeding purposes. You could crush everyone in your group finish top, and your reward is a harder draw.
That is brutal. It basically means that in Group 1, we have 4 teams playing confident winning cricket right now, but at least 2 of them are going home before the semifinals.
It is the absolute definition of a bottleneck, and it makes Group 1 incredibly volatile. There is just zero room for a bad day at the office.
Yeah, in Group 2, you might get away with one bad performance.
Oh, easily. But in Group 1, you lose one game, you are staring right at the exit door.
Well, speaking of teams that absolutely cannot afford a bad day, let's talk about the tournament favorites, India.
Yes, let's.
Because they tore through Group A undefeated. They look like a machine. But you sent me a stat sheet this morning with a subject line that just said warning in all caps.
I did. Because if you just check the scores on an app, India looks perfect. Clinical wins. Bumrah is bowling absolute fire.
He really is.
But if you look under the hood, there is a check engine light flashing, and it's flashing red.
Okay, is it the bowling? Because Bumrah and Arshdeep seem to be handling business pretty well.
No, the bowling is totally fine. It's the batting. Specifically, how they handle a very specific type of bowling. India is struggling massively against off-spin.
Really? India? The land of spin playing off-spin badly? That feels super counterintuitive. How bad are the numbers?
It's remarkably bad. In this World Cup, India's batters are averaging just 13.25 runs per wicket against off-spinners.
13.25. That is tail-ender territory. That's not a top-order average.
It is incredibly low. And the scoring rate, the economy is just 6.23 runs per over.
Wow.
To put that in context for you, that is a worse performance against off-spin than Oman and Nepal managed in this entire tournament.
Okay, that is a genuinely damning stat. India, the global batting powerhouse, playing off-spin worse than the associate nations. Why? What is happening there structurally to cause that?
It's what analysts are calling the left-hander paradox. India has packed their top order with left-handed batters.
Right, let's actually count them down.
You have Abhishek Sharma at the top.
Yeah.
Ishan Kishan, Tilak Varma, Shivam Dubey, Rinku Singh, Akshar Patel.
That is 6.
That is 6 left-handers in their top 8.
And for anyone listening who might not be a huge cricket tactical nerd, why is having that many lefties such a massive problem against off-spin specifically?
It's simple geometry. An off-spinner turns the ball away from the left-hander.
Okay.
When the ball turns away, it does 2 really distinct things. One, it moves away from your power arc. It's much harder to slog sweep against the turn because you risk top edging it into the air.
Right, you're hitting against the spin.
Exactly. And 2, and this is the real killer, it constantly challenges the outside edge. If you reach for it, you slice it to cover. If you leave it and it doesn't turn as much, it hits off stump. It is essentially the perfect defensive angle.
It takes the stumps out of the equation and forces the batter to generate all their own power while reaching far away from their body.
Exactly. And the data just backs this up comprehensively. We saw Abhishek Sharma get bowled by Aryan Dutt, the Dutch off-spinner.
I remember that.
He just looked completely at sea. We saw them struggle massively against Namibia's Gerhard Erasmus.
Oh, that Erasmus spell was wild. He took 4 for 20.
And look, No disrespect to Gerhard Erasmus. He is a wonderful cricketer, but he's a part-time bowler in the global context.
Yeah, he's a batting all-rounder mostly.
Right. So if a part-time off-spinner from Namibia can tie the Indian batting lineup in absolute knots, imagine what the Super 8 teams are thinking right now.
They have to be licking their lips.
They absolutely are. Just look at the Super 8 opponents waiting for them in Group 1. South Africa has Aiden Markram, an incredibly smart, tight off-spinner.
Yep.
Zimbabwe has Sikander Raza, Brian Bennett, Ryan Burrell, all spin options who turn it away from the lefties. West Indies has Roston Chase and Gudakesh Modi.
So basically, every single team India is about to face has the exact specific tool needed to exploit this glaring weakness.
Exactly. You can bet your house that Aiden Markram or Sikander Raza will be bowling in the power play against them. They're going to front-load off-spin to try and knock over that Indian top order early.
Right.
They simply aren't going to give them pace to hit.
Well, speaking of that top order, we really have to talk about Abhishek Sharma. Because this is a player who I was personally so excited to watch.
Yeah, this is a tough one to talk about.
I mean, this guy came into the tournament as the world's #1 ranked T20 batter. In 2025, he scored 1,300 runs. He hit 88 sixes. He was a complete monster.
He was practically unstoppable.
Mm.
He redefined how you play the power play for a whole year.
And in this World Cup,
0 runs.
3 matches, 3 ducks.
It's a remarkable slump. He got out first ball against the USA, then a 4-ball duck against Pakistan, and then bowled by Arian Dutt against the Netherlands.
That has to be mental, right? To go from hitting 88 sixes to being totally unable to buy a single run.
It almost certainly is entirely mental at this point, and the experts are really divided on how to actually handle it. Ravi Shastri, the former coach, weighed in on this recently.
What did he say?
He's basically saying, give him time. He thinks Abhishek is just a bit off the boil and needs to spend time at the crease to convert those dot balls back into boundaries. He says, just survive the first 10 balls.
Well, it's incredibly easy to say spend time at the crease when you're getting out for 0 every time. You can't spend time if you're walking back to the pavilion in the very first over.
That is exactly the problem.
Yeah.
Nasser Hussain had a slightly different take, though. He suggested a complete mental reset.
How so?
He thinks Abhishek needs to literally go back to his hotel room and watch the tapes of his best innings from 2025. Just sit there, watch himself completely dominate attacks, and remind his brain, hey, I'm actually really good at this. I belong here.
Visualizing the success, I actually like that approach. But with the Super 8 starting on Saturday, does India actually have the time for a mental reset?
That is the multi-million-dollar question. In a group this insanely tight carrying an opener who is scoring 0 is a massive liability.
It's playing with 10 men.
It is.
Yeah.
But dropping him is also a massive risk because you know exactly what he can do if he finally clicks. If he comes off, he wins you the game in 6 overs.
It's a huge gamble for the management. And before we move off India, there was one more little nugget in your notes that worried me. Former player Varun Aaron pointed out a stat about their fielding.
Yes, this completely flew under the radar a bit during the group stages. Aaron pointed out that India's catching efficiency has dropped below 70% in the last 12 to 18 months.
Below 70%, that means they are dropping 3 out of every 10 chances that come their way.
Roughly, yes.
Yeah.
And in high-pressure knockout-style games, drop catches outright lose matches. If they drop a guy like Heinrich Klaassen or Nicholas Pooran in the Super 8s, it's game over. You do not get second chances against those guys.
So, India favorites, but definitely flawed. Now let's look at the Sharks circling them in Group 1. Let's start with South Africa. The media is calling them the silent assassins.
I absolutely love that nickname for them. They have been incredibly clinical unbeaten in Group D, but they really haven't made a huge amount of noise.
No drama.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They haven't had the major controversies or the nail-biting finishes. They just turn up and get the job done.
But here's where it gets really interesting for South Africa tactically. They have a secret weapon, and it's not actually a player. It's the venue.
This is a crucial detail that so many people are overlooking right now. South Africa played 3 of their group games in Ahmedabad. And guess exactly where their first 2 Super 8 games are?
Ahmedabad.
Correct. They play India and the West Indies right there. They have basically been living in that city for weeks. They are training on those specific pitches every single day.
Wow.
They know the angles of the ground. They know the wind patterns. They know how the lights affect the ball in the evening.
So while other teams are flying in, dealing with jet lag, checking into new hotels, trying to figure out the local conditions, South Africa is basically playing at a home ground.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
And in Ahmedabad, the specific pitch type really matters. There are two very distinct types of soil used on the squares there, red soil and black soil.
What is the actual difference for the listener who might not know soil agronomy?
Sure, so red soil has a much higher clay content, so it typically offers significantly more bounce and pace off the pitch. South African bowlers, guys who grew up on the hard, bouncy tracks of Johannesburg or Centurion, they absolutely love red soil.
Makes sense.
Black soil, on the other hand, tends to crack a bit more under the sun. The ball stays much lower, and it turns a lot more.
So knowing which pitch is being used and having played on both of them recently gives them a massive data advantage over the opposition.
Exactly. They know precisely which length to hit on which surface. That familiarity could easily be the defining difference in a tight, close game against someone like India.
And they have the squad to back it up, too, even with Andrich Norwich being injured, which is a pretty big blow.
It is a blow, sure, but their replacement unit with Bartman and Bosch has stepped up brilliantly. They really haven't missed a beat. And they're batting with Markram, Hiccup. They are deeply experienced. They know exactly how to pace a T20 innings in India.
Okay, let's move to the team that broke Australian hearts. Zimbabwe, the giant killers.
The absolute story of the tournament, hands down.
They didn't just scrape through either. They beat Australia, and then they beat Sri Lanka, chasing down a massive 179. This isn't a fluke, is it?
No, it's really not. And I think we as a cricketing public need to stop looking at them as a minnow in this specific context. They are playing highly sophisticated, modern T20 cricket. They have a clear plan, and they are executing it better than the big boys.
What makes them so dangerous for a team like India, though?
It goes right back to that off-spin weakness we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
Zimbabwe is led by Sikandar Raza. He is the MVP of the entire tournament so far for me.
He's been phenomenal.
He bowls mystery spin cutters off breaks. He is a total nightmare to read from the hand.
And he's not alone in that attack.
No, definitely not. Brian Bennett and Ryan Burrell back him up. They have the exact spin profile that deeply troubles India's left-handers. They can completely clog up the middle overs with tight spin.
And they have real pace, too. Blessing Muzarabani.
He is huge.
Right.
Really tall, gets steep, uncomfortable bounce. In Ahmedabad, if they happen to play on that red soil pitch we talked about, Muzarabani is going to be a severe handful.
He's going to be hitting the splice of that all day.
Exactly. And they have shown they can chase totals down, too.
Sure.
Brian Bennett scored a brilliant 63 against Sri Lanka, and Raza finished the game off. They have legitimate finishers now.
So the whole narrative of India should easily beat Zimbabwe is a dangerous trap.
Extremely dangerous. Zimbabwe has absolutely nothing to lose. They have already automatically qualified for the 2028 World Cup just by reaching this stage of the tournament.
Oh, wow.
So they are playing with total freedom. That makes them terrifying for a team under immense pressure like India.
And finally, rounding out Group 1, we have the West Indies. They are also sitting at 100% win rate.
Power and depth. That is the modern West Indies brand. They beat England in the group stage, which was a huge statement of intent.
Their batting lineup seems to just go on forever. It's like a hydro. You cut off one head and another one comes out holding a bat ready to hit sixes.
It really does feel like that. They have genuine batting down to number 9. We saw Shai Hope come in and just smash 75 off 46 balls against Italy, and he is usually considered their anchor.
Right, the steady guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when your designated anchor is striking at over 160, you are in a very, very good place as a team.
And what about their spinners?
Akil Hossain and Gudakesh Moti. It's a classic left-arm spin duo. Hossain absolutely controls the power play. He bowls tight, darting, skiddy deliveries that are hard to get under.
And Modi?
Moti controls the middle overs. He flights it a bit more, looks to actively take wickets. It's a wonderfully balanced attack. Their only real worry might be fast bowling consistency, although saying that Shamar Joseph did take a forfer against Italy. But generally they rely on just outbatting you.
So Group 1 is India, South Africa, West Indies, Zimbabwe.
Huh.
All 4 are form teams. Only 2 go through to the semis. It is going to be an absolute bloodbath.
It is going to be fantastic television.
It really is. Now let's take a breath and look at Group 2. England, New Zealand, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. This feels structurally very different.
It feels much more open. You don't have that same overwhelming sense of invincibility that the Group 1 teams have shown so far. Everyone in Group 2 has shown some sort of vulnerability.
Let's start with Pakistan. Talk about a roller coaster of a team. I feel like every single tournament we say, well, Pakistan is chaos, and every tournament they go ahead and prove us right.
They are the resurrection, honestly. They were completely dead and buried. They lost to India. They struggled early on. They needed a massive win against Namibia just to fix their terrible net run rate. And they needed other results to go their way perfectly.
And somehow they got it.
They did. They beat Namibia by 102 runs.
102 runs in a T20 is a total thrashing. That's not just a win, that's a massive statement.
It definitely was. Sahib Farhan scored his maiden century. He was 100 not out off just 58 balls. That one innings virtually saved their entire campaign.
So now they are standing in the Super 8s. Are they a legitimate threat to win it?
Pakistan is always a threat when they have their backs to the wall. It's a total cliche, but it's remarkably true. They genuinely play their best cricket when they feel they have nothing to lose. It frees up their stroke play.
And they're bowling.
They have found some real form with their spinners, too. Shadab Khan took 3 for 19 recently, and they have this completely mystery spinner, Usman Tariq.
Oh, I've actually seen clips of this guy on social media. Usman Tariq, he completely stops his run upright.
Yes, it's bizarre. He has that stuttering, pausing action. He runs and stops dead in his tracks and then suddenly bowls. It completely messes with the batter's internal timing.
I can imagine.
He took 4 for 16 against Namibia, doing exactly that. He completely froze their batters in place. In Sri Lanka, where the pitches naturally spin, that kind of mystery action can be an incredible wild card.
And we have New Zealand, the ever-efficient machine.
Quietly effective as always. They beat Canada very easily. They just do the absolute basics well. They are the team no one ever wants to play in a knockout game because, as the old saying goes, they drag you down to their level.
What does that actually mean, though, drag you down to their level?
It means they do not let you play your preferred flashy game. If you want to hit sixes, they immediately bowl wide Yorkers. If you want to drive, they bowl back of a length.
They adjust instantly.
Yes. They bowl incredibly tight lines, they set magnificent fields, and they expertly take the pace off the ball. They make you grind for every single run.
Suffocating.
Exactly. And before you know it, you've panicked. You've played a rash shot out of frustration, and they've won the game by 15 runs. They literally bore you into submission.
The ultimate grinders of world cricket.
Without a doubt. And in Asian conditions, they have Mitchell Santner and Ish Sodhi. They're very, very comfortable operating there.
What about Sri Lanka? They are the co-hosts, but they really stumbled against Zimbabwe.
They are the wounded co-hosts right now.
Yeah.
They qualified, yes, but losing to Zimbabwe at home really hurt their pride. But the vastly bigger blow is injury. Batisha Patharana is out.
Baby Malinga.
Yeah. He is their ultimate death bowling specialist. That low, slingy action delivering Yorkers at 150 kilometers an hour. Losing him is massive for their defensive bowling plans.
Can they cope without him?
They still have Pathanasanka scoring runs.
Yeah.
He's been their top scorer. And they have world-class spinners like Hasaranga and Tikshana. But without Patharana, if they have to defend, say, 10 runs in the final over, they suddenly look very vulnerable.
And finally, England. They are the defending champions of the 50-over format, a major global powerhouse, but the sources describe them as literally limping into the Super 8s.
Limping or stumbling might even be generous. Their wins against the associate nations were highly unconvincing. They haven't really clicked as a cohesive unit yet.
But what is the main concern for them?
It's the bowling attack. Without Jofra Archer firing on all cylinders, the attack just looks a bit toothless. It lacks that sheer X-factor pace. And the batting hasn't fired collectively at all.
It's been very disjointed.
Exactly. They are relying on individual moments of brilliance. A quick cameo from Joss Butler here, a few big hits from Phil Salt there, rather than utter team dominance. But look, it is England. They have proven match winners. You can never truly write them off, but they definitely look the shakiest of the big teams right now.
So Group 2 is really just anyone's game at this point.
I really think so. Pakistan has raw momentum. New Zealand has ruthless consistency. Sri Lanka has the home advantage but terrible injuries. England has the pedigree but awful form. Good luck picking a clear winner from that mess.
Yeah, I wouldn't dare. Okay, let's zoom out a bit. We've talked deeply about the teams. Let's shift and talk tactics. Because the actual conditions in the Super 8s, the physical environment of the game, are going to heavily dictate these results. You mentioned the do factor earlier on. Just how big of a deal is this going to be?
It's going to be huge. Game deciding. All the Super 8 matches in India are scheduled for 7:00 p.m. local starts.
Primetime television slots.
Prime time for TV, but crucially also prime time for dew. As the Indian night cools down, a heavy layer of moisture settles directly onto the outfield grass.
And a wet ball means what exactly for the fielding side?
Imagine trying to bowl an accurate delivery with a wet bar of soap. The leather seam gets soaked and swells up. The spinners physically cannot grip it tightly, so they can't impart any spin on it. It just slides right out of the hand.
That sounds like a nightmare for the bowlers.
Yeah.
And for the batter.
Oh, it's an absolute dream. The ball skids onto the bat perfectly nicely. It doesn't grip or slow down off the surface at all.
So the strategy at the coin toss is pretty simple then.
If you win the toss, you bowl first. You chase. It is almost completely non-negotiable in these evening conditions. We will see captains overwhelmingly choosing to chase because you desperately want to be the one batting when the opposition bowlers are struggling with that wet soap bar in the second innings.
That makes total sense. And we briefly touched on the soil types in Ahmedabad earlier, but let's expand on that because pitch variance across the venues seems to be a massive theme in the notes.
It really is. We have upcoming matches in Ahmedabad, Colombo, and Chennai. These are wildly different playing surfaces.
Right. Ahmedabad has the distinct red and black soil options on the same square.
Yes. So if South Africa or West Indies get assigned a red soil pitch in Ahmedabad, they will expect good bounce. They will expect pace carrying through to the keeper.
Which suits their fast bowlers.
Exactly. But if India plays on a black soil pitch there, or when any of the teams travel down to Colombo or Chennai, it is going to be slow, low turn.
So teams absolutely need to be adaptable. You can't just pack one game plan in your suitcase.
Precisely. You can't just play smash it out of the park cricket everywhere you go. India, for example, has a very specific batting approach adapted for this. Analysts call it the shell versus explosion method.
Explain that for me.
They tend to go into a protective shell in the middle overs, usually overs 7 through 15. They focus heavily on keeping wickets in hand. They rotate the strike constantly, and they take very, very few aerial risks.
And then?
And then they rely entirely on guys like Shivam Dubey and Hardik Pandya to just explode in the last 5 overs and catch up on the run rate.
Is that a risky strategy against top teams?
It is hugely risky if you happen to lose early wickets. Say if Abhishek Sharma gets out for another duck early on and the middle order is forced into that defensive shell way too early, you end up posting a really below par score. You simply can't explode at the end if you're already 5 wickets down.
Right, you run out of firepower.
Exactly. Interestingly, Zimbabwe and Sri Lanka are doing something quite similar, but with designated anchors like Brian Bennett and Pathum Nissanka. They hold one end secure, allowing the power hitters like Raza to swing freely around them. It's a sharp contrast to the West Indies philosophy, which is just attack, attack, attack from ball one.
It is incredibly fascinating how these completely different stylistic approaches are going to clash. So just to recap, the Super 8s start this Saturday. The top 2 teams from each group move on to the semifinals.
Group 1 is going to be an absolute pressure cooker. India, South Africa, West Indies, Zimbabwe, one of the genuine tournament favorites is going home early.
At least one, maybe two.
Right. And Group 2 just feels like a spot where New Zealand or Pakistan could really sneak through, given England's current shaky form.
And there is a really nice little bonus for all these teams who made it this far right.
Yes, there is. The so what for the future of these franchises. By reaching the Super 8 stage, all 8 of these teams have now automatically qualified for the 2028 T20 World Cup, which is going to be held in Australia and New Zealand.
Oh, wow, that is huge. Job done for 2028 already.
It really is. It takes immense pressure off the boards regarding regional qualification tournaments.
Yeah.
And interestingly, Australia, despite being embarrassingly knocked out this week, also qualifies automatically simply because they are the hosts in 2028.
Talk about a lucky break for the Aussies. They get a total free pass after this absolute disaster of a campaign.
They really do. But for developing teams like Zimbabwe, securing that automatic spot is just massive for their domestic funding and long-term planning. It means they have a totally secure international calendar for the next 2 years.
That is fantastic for the global game. Absolutely. Okay, we have thoroughly covered the group of death. We've dissected India's off-spin crisis. We've looked at the venue advantages and the tactical trends like dew and soil types. Leave us with a final thought to mull over as we head into this massive weekend of cricket.
Here is the specific question that is keeping me up at night right now. We know for a statistical fact that India struggles against off-spin. We also know that Zimbabwe has a high-quality off-spin attack led by a brilliant Sikandar Raza and Brian Bennett.
I think I see exactly where you're going with this.
Is the giant killer story actually over? Or are we currently looking at the setup for a massive historic upset in Ahmedabad that could completely derail the tournament favorites? Everyone in the media is looking at India versus South Africa as the big defining game of the group. But India versus Zimbabwe might secretly be the tactical ambush that changes the entire landscape of the World Cup.
Wow. And it really makes you wonder, is the group of death fundamentally unfair due to seeding rules, or is it just the ultimate brutal test of a true champion?
Well, if you want to win the World Cup, You have to beat the best teams eventually. Group 1 just forcefully demands that you do it sooner rather than later.
I love it. The stakes literally couldn't be any higher. The Super 8s are officially here. Enjoy the cricket this weekend, everyone. It is going to be
I'm
wild.
going to be an absolute cracker of the
We
week.
will catch you on the other side.